Hello everyone, here we have PU Monthly Report, September 2025. Link to this is in my first pinned comment below. I won't read everything. There's quite a lot about AI. This is not AI like in ChatGPT, this is NPC AI. What I find strange when you're reading the Squadron 42 progress reports, you get the same thing. It's all about AI, AI, AI. CRT, why don't you show us something? I would be very happy to see your NPC AI in action, even if it's on your very dedicated server that's standing right next to you with only one player on. CRT always says we cannot give you good NPC AI because currently our servers are limited in the PU. CRT, we know this, but please show us something. We didn't exactly have a lot of ISCs this year. This would be very welcome. Some animations for boss fights, a bit more art. And we have, of course, ships. Lots of ships. In the UK, work continued to bring RSI Aurora and Aegis Hammerhead to a modern standard. The Aurora progressed to the LOD 0 and final stages as improvements were made to component-based bed access, dashboard placement, entrance method, VTOL setup, and cargo access on the underside. CRG, I have a tip for you. Please don't use words like LOD 0. Most people don't know what this means, and actually I had to look it up. What does LOD 0 mean? It means level of detail 0, which in computer graphics mean that it's the most detailed version of the model. LOD 1 would be less detailed. For the Hammerhead, focus was on implementing the improvements made to the base corridor kit from the recent Idris release, alongside making sure the component base and relays are suitably placed and accessible. Yeah, more fuses. I am not a fan of this fuses gameplay, it's lowest possible effort and makes no sense. And what about fixing the real problem of the Hammerhead, CRG? Hammerhead's turrets are still mostly useless against small and agile fighters, exactly what Hammerhead was made to fight. The Paladin progressed into the LOD 0 phase, with final adjustments being made to the main quad turret to ensure its movement is unhindered in both flight and landed states. The MISC B is now well into the white box phase. The majority of the interior was implemented to the required level, while adjustments are currently being made to the exterior mesh to meet the gate requirements. CRG, what about loading, unloading? Where are the machines? Where are the services? Where are the NPCs? More than 8 years ago, Chris and Tony Surek talked about exactly this, still nowhere to be seen.
Steve Apollyon asks, are there any plans on cargo loading of the bigger ships such as the whole series of ships, and is the loading at a space station or even planetary going to be automatic, or will we have a specialized small cargo loading ships similar to Argo to load manually if we choose to, similar to the Argo?
Yeah, we have talked about the fact that we don't want the larger ships to basically just park it, click the button, and it's done. That these larger ships that have vast quantities of materials would actually take a significant period of time to unload and may result in missions for NPCs and/or other players to actually undertake. We've actually got a pretty comprehensive design right now, but we're still iterating through that because we actually want to unify some of the functionality for loading and unloading.
Like if I have a big container ship and I pull into the port of LA here at Long Beach, there's a whole setup. There's longshoremen, big cranes, and there's services, and the crew of the container ship don't actually unload the containers themselves. There's equipment that does it, and there's people that are paid to do that. And I would say that in general, in sort of the bigger sort of spaceports, you would have that same kind of setup where you would have the ability to unload the bigger ships, unload the containers. Potentially, we've talked about having the ability for players to sort of play the part of a longshoreman, right, if they're running around in a Largo and taking off a container from a Hully and dropping it to another place and doing that, or having AI do that. And then there obviously will be cases where, which is probably a later question we have here, but there'll be manual unloading and loading of cargo where you don't have the sort of big services, like if I just had a ship and I was off the coast somewhere and there wasn't a port, then obviously I would have to be doing it myself. And so I think we've been looking at ways that you have the sort of automatic option that's the services provided.
Automatic option when appropriate, but the fidelity so that on these smaller ships you can actually, and this makes for much more interesting gameplay in a lot of times, in a lot of different cases, because you can imagine scenarios to where you need to deliver a smaller quantity, a half dozen, a dozen, specific crates of some sort of, illegal liquor or something to somebody at a planet.
I think so the answer is there will be services, but we'll also have some specialized ships and equipment for unloading, cargo.
Drake Ironclad and Ironclad Assault plus the updated command module are approaching the combined white box gate review. 4 unannounced vehicles also continue development throughout September. The first is approaching its LOD0 review, while the second progressed through the LOD0 gate and is now in its final stage. We are getting 4 more ships so you can continue supporting this. Maybe Chris needs an even bigger private cinema. The third, a variant of a popular recent release, is receiving Greybox and LOD0 work in tandem due to the nature of the changes. So we are getting another variant of a recently released ship. Maybe we are getting a gunship variant of Apollo. I wouldn't be surprised. The fourth passed its Greybox review early in September with the LOD0 work due early October. The North American teams began a month finalizing fixes for RSI Apollo ships ahead of their release. LOD0 for RSI Perseus was also passed early on in the month, with the team moving on to the final touches and downstream team beginning to close out the ship. Yeah, RSI Perseus is supposed to get released soon. I'm looking forward testing her. The white box phase officially kicked off for the Drake Kraken in the latter half of the month. 2 unannounced vehicles progressed too. One moved through the Greybox phase, while the second entered white box. Yeah, there are rumors we are getting another alien ship, Vendul Stinger. Like I mentioned, I won't read everything. If you want to, you can just read it. Link is my first pinned comment below. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Bye. Auf Wiedersehen. Hey, you're still here. You might want to join me on Twitter or on Blue Sky.